But actually, the point that I'm getting is there's, polarity. Polarity is divisive, and of course polarity inside of us is divisive too. And really, that is one of the underlying themes of unity, is really about that we are one. And I often tell us all to look through the lens of there is one power and one presence in my life, God the good omnipotent. And I'm going to talk about tithing today. And I want us to bear in mind that tithing is just a spiritual practice. It's a spiritual practice. And I'm going to teach us what unity teaches about tithing. It's all about consciousness. It's all about consciousness. My understanding of, I'm going to tell you a little story to explain my understanding of consciousness and tithing and all that. When I would say the driving force in my life from when I was maybe 12 was that I wanted a boyfriend. I wanted that special one. I wanted that more than anything. And I spent a long time, I wanted the romantic relationship of the one more than I wanted a career, more than I wanted success, more than I wanted good health. I had good health, so I took that for granted. I wanted that one-on-one relationship. And so I really did I spent all my time trying to get that. My consciousness was about that. Clearly, I got, the man of my dreams. And the real story about that is I got the man of my dreams when I did enough spiritual work, and it was the focus of relationships. Like the first spiritual workshop I did was called Loving Relationships Training. That was my entryway into spiritual work. And I got the relationship of my dreams when I did enough spiritual work to realize that it wasn't about the other person. I know, all those poor guys. Those poor husbands that I had before Roland. Whatever. It's like, I thought it was them. They were doing everything wrong. And occasionally I think Roland might do one or two things. But I know that's not true. But really, it's about me. It's about me. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is that tithing or money or prosperity or abundance is one aspect that it's one way to work out your spiritual stuff. For me, I did a lot of my working out in pursuit of the relationship. I wanted right relationships, beautiful, loving relationships. So that's where I spent a lot of my time. I did not care about the other stuff, and it wasn't until I done enough work to get that relationship, then I started to look around at other things. Well, maybe I want a career. Maybe I'd like some money. I don't know, whatever. Really, that's how it was. And then let me just say, I've always had the blessing of health, so I wasn't focused on that. I didn't feel like I needed to pursue that. Prosperity is not just about money. Prosperity is that we enjoy good health, that we enjoy good relationships, that we enjoy a satisfying way to spend our days. That can be making a living, right work, or I would just say right pursuit, And then some money to buy what you want. Money to buy what you want, or the means to get what you want. So that's what abundance is and prosperity is. Tithing is a practice. Now, let's face it, tithing started out as a tax. And it was a tax for the people in the Old Testament to bring 10% in to the temple, which was also the government. Okay, so it was a tax. It really was a tax. So there's nothing that important about the number 10. And when I explain to you I want everyone to really get that the teaching about tithing is just, this is one way to get spiritually evolved. Okay, it's one thing. One way. Now we do have a thing. We do have this thought out there that it's not quite spiritual to talk about money or to ask for money or to want money or to pursue that as a goal. The best teaching about money for me and my understanding is David R. Hawkins, and the way he explains it is this. He explains that all of us are on a spiritual journey of evolution. And whether or not you even want to believe there's many lifetimes, it doesn't matter. You just take your lifetime and you can see that you've evolved spiritually. And there's a part where there's a part of us where perhaps that our spiritual evolution is just all about give me what I want. You know, if you've ever been with a little baby, as lovely as they are, they just want what they want. And they want it. They don't really care what you want. They love you, but they want what they want. And when we're in our spiritual evolution, we go through periods where we might be dishonest and just try to manipulate events and not care about other people and get what we want, whether it's a relationship or success or money. And clearly, by the time you walk into a Unity church, really, you're at a level of truth. You're at a level of spiritual evolution where you want oneness, where you want a higher way of being than just me, mine. And probably you've encountered some kind of teaching about the ego. The ego is the part of us that might be like the little baby part of us that just wants what it wants right now. And the ego is the part of us that stands for me first. Get me my things first. And then the spirit part of us is the part that says to us, that is in all of us, we are connected, that actually I can't be happy till everybody's happy. How can I enjoy a banquet if somebody's outside starving? I mean, that really is why we have these problems with thinking about, well, I want to be prosperous. There's a part of us that says, well, I want everybody to be prosperous, because it's the truth. We don't want to be enjoying everything if we think of somebody who is without. That's because we are evolved, we're evolved loving people, and we've gone past just me, mine, and we think about other people. That's why we do things like give to DMARC here in Des Moines, which is the Des Moines Area Religious Council, which has one of the best places of any city I've ever been in to feeding the homeless. All the churches get together and they pay people to run this wonderful organization that feeds people who need food in Des Moines. It's really wonderful. And it is a part of our evolution that we want to give to that, and that we want to make sure that people are taken care of besides ourselves. And it is okay to want what we want. It is okay. The main teaching, I think, that Unity gives, and many other spiritual traditions do too, but I think the main thing that we need to focus on is to let yourself off the hook for guilt. It was okay that I wanted a boyfriend. It's okay that I want a car or whatever it is I want, or a new dress. It's okay if you want a nice place to live. It's really okay. Now, we don't want the things we want at the expense of other people. That's the spiritual walk. And David R. Hawkins talks about, here's the idea of spiritual evolution, and if you look at your idea of God and your idea of, let's just say, money, it's going to change depending on what your consciousness level is at, okay? I'm just going to read a little bit, not this whole thing. I'm not going to read you the whole thing. He's talking about consciousness. How would one look at money? It could be something one feels guilty about or is sinful to have. That could be a consciousness level you have. God will destroy us if we have money, and we can hate ourselves for having it. The whole process is a destructive one because it is a negative energy field. And he talks about calibration. It's a low vibration or a low calibration in regard to truth. It's not truth. So then bringing us up the path of evolution, spiritual evolution, money could be viewed from a higher energy field, such as fear, in which money would then be a frightening thing. I've sometimes been frightened about money. It could be viewed as unspiritual, or it might be the source of hatred, resentment, and grievance. With money being used in competition or in a retaliatory way, right? You could use money in a retaliatory way. Money could be held from the level of pride. So you could think that money is a status symbol. I'm proud. I have money because God gave it to me, because the more God loves me, the more money he gives. That would be holding the thought of pride. Well, then when you go up through the energy field of unconditional love, which is the field where we all start to heal, true unconditional love, which is in our hearts, then you become unattached to the money. Money doesn't run us. And you don't have any thoughts about God punishing you or rewarding you with money. It's not about God. God is not concerned whether one has money. As we move up into these scales of love and gratitude, money might be viewed as a gift, just like any other gift, for which we are grateful. The money would then be a tool. How about this? What if money was a tool? A way of expressing compassion and unconditional lovingness toward the suffering of the world. So this is the beginning of a revelation. And then as you move up in our field of consciousness to oneness and perfection, you see that all things are aspects of God, including money, including success, including health, including having, not having. Instead of seeing money as sinful, it is seen as a tool God has given us so that lovingness can be expressed in a greater field and can help large segments of humankind. Money can then be held in joy, from which one can feel an inner gladness that one has been given the power with money to be an expression of God on earth. So money, like anything, how about that? If money was just a tool to use to express God, to express love and compassion. And I'm just going to turn the heat down because I see somebody out there dying. There we go, this little bit. It might not get cold, but more than one. There's a couple people fanning. It's always hard. The other thing is, yeah, just like, it's right. It's hard to know what to do in the room. Like the room when you're empty is really different when the room with people. In so many ways. So that, I really want us to get that money is a tool. And now the teaching about tithing makes sense. If you want to pursue prosperity and abundance, awesome. Use that for your spiritual evolution. That's awesome. If you want to pursue a boyfriend or a girlfriend, awesome. Use that as your way toward enlightenment. If you want to pursue success, whatever it is that we want, whatever is in our hearts that we want. Like, for example, if I was supposed to be a dentist, it just wouldn't have worked. I didn't want that. You have to have the juice, right? There's something you have juice about. For me, it really wasn't about money or success. It was about the relationship. Then it became about my spiritual evolution, and unity and exploring that. That's what it is for me. So whatever it is for you, pursue that. And maybe it is about abundance and prosperity. Maybe it is about compassion. Whatever it is, pursue it. Maybe it's about art. Maybe it's about creating movies. Maybe it's whatever it is. There's 7.5 billion different ways to express God, money being one of them. Now, tithing is a spiritual practice that we teach in unity, and we teach it because it's about putting God first. It's a symbol. It is a little bit about tricking your mind or training your mind. It is a practice about putting God first. Now, I want to not just say this is me thinking about this. I know a lot about, you can't go through unity without learning a lot about tithing. I'm going to read just 2 little paragraphs. One is from Reverend Tony Bain, Creating Intentional Prosperity. This was in one of our Unity Contact magazines. We live by the ideas and principles we know. Our words have power based upon the power we give to the idea behind them. What power are you giving to the idea of money and or lack of it as a commodity in your life and ministry? So this is kind of approaching a church. What thought energy are you putting into the idea of money? So what's our thoughts about money? We speak often of practical application of principle. We walk your talk. We say that a lot in unity. And what can be known is that infinite mind is always measuring not our talk as much as our consciousness. And the universe is just a mirror. The universe is always mirroring our consciousness. It's not a bad thing. It's a wonderful thing. So first of all, I want everyone to no guilt, no guilt, no guilt. And could I say again, no guilt? The fact that the universe is showing you something does not make you wrong or guilty, right? So if for example, who has not, let's just say, I've definitely struggled with money. I'm not struggling now, but who knows? Next week I might. No guilt. It's an opportunity. We want to develop curiosity, right? Curiosity. Wow, it's funny. I seem to make the same amount of money, and I squeak by. I pay for this, and this, and I haven't, and for the last 10 years I wanted to get ahead, and I didn't. Okay, what's that telling me about how I hold money? That aspect of my life. Just get some curiosity about it. Now, Tony says something. She says, what are you currently demonstrating? So we want to look at that without guilt and with some curiosity. And here's the last part. Now, this to me is she's doing the unity teaching on consciousness. If our ideas are steeped in on making money, we may receive temporary material gain. If our ideas are steeped in on raising spiritual consciousness and aligning with more of who we are as spiritual beings, recognizing that a church or a spiritual community has a collective consciousness, then we will see results. So we have our own consciousness, we have our consciousness in any group we're in, we have a consciousness as a congregation, and so on. So look at the financial situation of the spiritual community, and you know what our collective consciousness is, But we want to look at, so that's one way to look at it. So I'm just going to take a real quick to talk about Edwene Gaines. Edwene Gaines is a famous prosperity teacher. She was a unity minister. The reason I like her is because she's really funny. She's got a great sense of humor. This is what she says. When I first started to teach prosperity 38 years ago, I really did not know enough to teach it, but I didn't let that stop me. I began my classes with, I really do not know if these principles work, these principles of prosperity, but I'm going to test them out and I'm going to invite you to join with me. And so began my grand adventure. And she has taught prosperity for over 38 years. And I've taken some prosperity classes for her. And we are going to explore her book as part of the prosperity class that I'm teaching. And believe me, this is me. I have not mastered prosperity, but I am curious about it. And I've definitely mastered, I've mastered being curious, and I've mastered being willing to experiment. I'm willing to experiment. So anybody who wants to take the class with me, it's on the bulletin, on your announcement sheet. Take the class. It starts in November. And we're going to be using her books. So I wanted to mention that. And the actual teaching on tithing is that you give money to where you are spiritually fed. You hear that? I am not saying give money to Unity Church of Divine. I'm not saying don't give money to Unity Church of Divine. But I'm saying the teaching on tithing at Unity is very clear. You give money to where you're spiritually fed, whether it is a waitress who just gave you the sweetest, kindest, good, best advice you ever had, or whether it might be an author of a book. It might be where your spiritual community is, and it might be you got inspired. It's where you're spiritually fed. That's the teaching on tithing at Unity. And the deal with 10% is, it's just, that's like, it's a big enough thing that it makes the experiment noticeable. You're going to feel 10%. It's a big enough thing that you're going to feel it. But it's arbitrary. It really is arbitrary. Tithing isn't a magic, 10% isn't a magic number. There is one story that Edwene tells about tithing that I like. The man who started a department store, and he decided God would be his partner. And so he decided, well, I'm going to experiment. I'm going to tithe more than 10%. And he actually, that store was Lord and Taylor. I mean, he named the store Lord and Taylor. And he was definitely prosperous, And we're going to explore that. But it's all about consciousness. It's all about it's about learning whatever we can learn, being curious about what we're doing, letting the universe give us some feedback, because the universe is going to give us feedback, and having fun and evolving. So the teaching on tithing is you put God first, and that's a way to put God first. To go ahead and give money it will change your whole consciousness. The last little bit, since I don't see the Sunday school kids up here, so I'll finish this story, is that in our life, Roland and I tithed after I saw Edwene gain, but I was a little afraid about it, so I wasn't a very persistent tither. I tithed to where I was spiritually fed. And then Roland took a class at Unity of Lakewood, a long time ago, and it was the 4T prosperity class. It was a class where you made a commitment and you tithed your 10%, and there was something about that he tithed, and since he did it, then I could do it, and our life changed. I mean, it really did change because of that was one of the things that worked for us, the putting God first in that way. And I don't know, it changed for him. It freed me up to be able to do it. And then it became a beautiful thing. So, hi, Sunday school people. And actually, we have a new thing we're doing in our Sunday school. And we have a new, every day there's one person's going to be the Sunday school assistant. Today it's Elsie. And Elsie's going to bring up the tithes from the Sunday school, or the love offerings. Thank you, sweetie. Thank you. Oh, you better keep this. Thank you. Okay, so let's take an offering for Unity.